Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikagiri Dhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupara Shuttara Shata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Nārāyaṇa Gosai Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupara Shuttara Shata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupara Shuttara Shata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupara Shuttara Shata Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupara Shuttara Shata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Srila Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadas Raghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Namachay Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Bridatta Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Ki Jai Shri Mona Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samaj Grantaraj no Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata Ki Jai Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Hare Krishna, Raseshwari Mataji and Indira Mataji. Dandavat pranams to both of you. Hari Bo. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. One thing I just want to do really quickly before I always forget to do this, but I have this group called TT Countdown, and every day is the appearance. So tomorrow is the appearance day of Sri Advaita Prabhu's Shakti, Sri Sita Thakurani. All right. And yeah, Radhashtami is coming up in just 5 days. And then Vaman Dwadashi, 8 days. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance day, 9 days. Haridas Thakur's disappearance day and Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj's disappearance day, 10 days. And then it's, what is it? Vishwarup Mahotsav the day after that. It's just day after day after day festivals. Okay. So let's continue doing the Mana Shiksha. I liked that program. Let me just open up. Where is it? Huh. Oh, I think I opened it here. That's why I can't find it. I opened it on this. There it is. Okay. So, Mana Shiksha by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, verse Goshte Goshtane Bhusuragmantre Shri Namne Vrajanavadvasharane Sadadang bhang hitva kururatima param aye swabhirabhyach. Taking hold of your fears, please give up all unprecedented rati for Sri Gurudev, the residents of Vaishnavas, the Brahmanas, Sudras, Shri Harinam, Shri Radha Krishna, youthful divine couple. So Srila Bhaktivinoda, we're going to sing that. He says, develop an unparalleled rati of Raj, its residents, the pure devotion to Shri Harinam, and the desire of the divine couple. O mind, I eat. Now I have come to know. Nothing can dispel the conditioned soul material existence. Pious acts, the cultistic knowledge, austerity, and yoga. All of these are fruit of his endeavors. Karma yoga, they are all fruit of endeavors. No one can free themselves from the bondage. Abandon all such and extol the grace can award bhakti. Quote this line out. Sakala Shakal Chari Devir Guna Gai Jar Dite Pare. Always relinquish your pride, truths, and develop rati, truths. Praying for Bhakti Vinod bows down to Shri Lotus feet. Interesting. The way we translate it in the never mind, I'm wrong. Okay, let's sing this because I don't want to start late. Oh, and Dandavat pranams, Bhavatarani Mataji and Champak Didi. Hare Krishna. Okay, we're singing it one at once. O Guru Deve Vrajabhe Bhumivasi Shuddhaye Arve Pragane Ishtamantre Hari Name Jugala Bhajana Kame Kororati Apurva Jatane Kororati Apurva Jatane. Dhari man charane tomar Dhari man charane janiyachi ebesar Krishna bhakti vinayar nahi ghuche Jivera sansar nahi guche Jivera sansara. Akarma jnana tapa yoga shakalai to karma bhoga karmachari, sorry, O karmacharaite keho nare, shakala chariya bhai, Shraddha Devir guna gai. O Shakala chariya bhai, Shraddha Devir guna gai. Jar kripa bhakti dite pare, jar kripa bhakti dite pare. Charidamba anukhan smarayashta tattvaman korotahe nishkapatarati sherati prarthanai Śrīdasa Goswami pai, e bhakti vinoda kore nai, e bhakti vinoda kore nati, korota he nishkapatarati. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Shnitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Jai Shri Raghunath Das Goswami Pad Ki Jai, Jai Shri Mana Shiksha Ki Jai. Shnitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Haribo, Ganga Mataji, and Pradyumna Prabhu, and Mantra Murti Mataji. And let's see, on Zoom there's Nri Hari Prabhu and Bhavatarini Mataji, Subhadra Didi, of course Champak Didi, and Indira Mataji, and Raseshwari Mataji. Dandavat Pranams everybody, Haribo. Alright, so we'll do the Mangala Charan and then go over the recap. Oops, I forgot to share my screen. 1 second. Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ajanulambita bhujo kanakavadato Sankirtanaikkapitaro Kamalayataksho Vishwambharo Dvijavaro Yugadharmapalavataro Namastrikala Satyaya Jagannatha Sutaya Cha Sabhrityaya Saputraya Sakalatraya Te Namaha Avatirno Sakarunyo Parichinno Sarishvaro Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Dvau Bhrataro Bhaje Sajayati Vishuddha Vikrama Kanakabha Kamalaya Tekshana Varajanu Vilambi Sharbhujo Bahudha Bhaktirasa Bhinartaka Jayati Jayati Deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandra Jayati Jayati Kirtis Tasya Nitya Pavitra Jayati Prityas Tasya Vishveshamurte Jayati Jayati Nrityang Tasya Sarva Priyanam Adishi Chaitanya Priya Goshtir Charane Ashesha Prakare Mor Danda Paraname Tabe Bando Shri Krishna Chaitanya Maheshwar Navadvipe Avatar Nama Vishwambar Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Devi Tvam Nayamang Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshay Kshiptashtakamaditaranga Madhe Kripa Mai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai Hari Bol Kishore Krishna Prabhu. The glories of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata and Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur. From Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 8, verses 33 to 42. Ore mora loko shuno Chaitanya Mangal Chaitanya Mahima Jate Jani Bishakal Krishna Lila Bhagavate Kohe Ved Vyas Chaitanya Lila Vyas Vrindavana Das Koilo Chaitanya Mangal Jahara Shabane Nashe Sarvaya Mangal Chaitanya Nitar Jate Jani Mahima Jate Jani Krishna Bhakti Siddhanter Sima Bhagavate Jatto Bhakti Siddhanter Sar Likhiya Chen Iha Jani Koriya Udhar Chaitanya Mangala Shune Jadi Pashandi Javan Sheho Maha Vaishnava Hoy Totakon Amanushe Rachite Nare Aiche Granta Dhanya Vrindavana Dasa Mukhe Vakta Shri Chaitanya Vrindavana Dasa Pore Koti Namaskar Aiche Granta Korite Ho Tarila Sansar Nārāyaṇa Chaitanya Uchishta Bhajan Tar Garbhe Janmila Shridasa Vrindavan Tar Ki Adbhuta Chaitanya Charita Varnan Jahar Shravane Shuddha Koilo Tribhuvan Shahaje Vichitra Madhur Chaitanya Vihar Vrindavan dasa mukhe amriter dhar. By nature, all the activities of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet. And when they are described by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, they become like a shower of nectar. Jai Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki jai, Śrī Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai. The Gaudiya Bhashya commentary of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna Amit Dandekar. Hari Bo. Okay, so today we're reading verses 50 to 92. We'll be reading about Nimāi Pandit's journey to Bangladesh. Bangladesh, they call it in Caitanya-bhāgavata. That's East Goda. Okay, so chapter 14, the Lord's travel to East Bengal and the disappearance of Lakshmi Priya. This past, this is the, one second, let me just put this madama down. So we're reading the Kathasar, the synopsis by Srimad Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj when he was a brahmachari. This chapter describes Gaur Narayan's enactment of a householder's pastime of serving guests. It also describes his visit to East Bengal, the offensive activities of some sinful atheists who imitated the Lord, and of a Brahmadaita of Radhadesh. All of them were contemporaries of the author. Then we'll read about, that's tomorrow I think, we'll read about the disappearance of Lakshmi Devi. We'll read about the inquiries of Tapa and Mishra to the Lord regarding the goal of life and the process for achieving it, and the Lord's reply to and teachings. And we'll read about the Lord's return from Bangladesh. That's what's contained in this chapter 14. Nimāi Pandit was greatly honored by the wealthy people of Navadvip, as well as by all who were accustomed to perform religious rituals. In order to establish an ideal example of the principles of household life, the Lord did not encourage the fault of miserliness. Rather, he showed compassion towards the needy and distressed persons. This is our synopsis of what we read yesterday. Guests were always properly served at the Lord's house in Sri Mayapur, Navadvip. Though the Lord, who is the teacher of people in general, personally displayed the pastimes of a poor householder, he nevertheless constantly endeavored to serve renounced Vaishnava sannyasis. As soon as Mother Shachi noticed a shortage of ingredients required for feeding the sannyasis, Gaura Sundar would immediately bring from somewhere the necessary ingredients for the service of the Vaishnavas. Lakshmi Devi engaged in cooking for the service of the Vaishnavas, and the Lord personally sat with the Vaishnava sannyasis and fully satisfied them by feeding them sumptuously. The principal duty of householders is to serve guests. Those householders who do not serve guests are lower than animals and birds. Even if a householder is bereft of wealth due to past karma, he should without duplicity serve his guests with at least some water, a sitting place, and sweet words. Knowing that Sri Lakshmi Narayan had appeared in Navadvip, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Shukadev, Vyasadeva, and Narad visited the Lord's house at Sri Mayapur in the guise of sannyasis. From early morning, Sri Lakshmi Devi continually engaged in various services in the temple room. She arranged the paraphernalia for worshipping the Lord, and she served Tulsi. She gave more attention to the service of Shachi Devi, her mother-in-law and the mother of her Lord, than to the service of Tulsi. Shachi Devi sometimes saw blazing flames of fire under the feet of her son, and she sometimes smelled the fragrance of lotus flowers throughout the house. So that's what we read. We read all that yesterday, and today we're going to be reading this. After some time, Nimāi Pandit went with his students to earn some wealth in Bangladesh, where he stayed on the banks of the Padmavati river. Overwhelmed by the Lord's ingenious scholarship, innumerable students came to study from him, and within a short time, they mastered various subjects. Hey, I have a question. We hear about how when Mahaprabhu was in Bangladesh, he went to the Padmavati river and he kept praying there for Narottam Das Thakur, right? I'm just wondering, I don't remember ever reading about another time when Mahaprabhu went to Bangladesh, like went to Padmavati river. I wonder if this was the time when that happened, like when he did that secretly. If anybody knows the answer to that, you can, yeah, just thought. Okay, so at this point, the author says that simply because the Lord went to Bangladesh, the young, the old, and the women there are even today intoxicated in Śrī Caitanya's Sankirtan movement. But sometimes, in order to fill their stomachs, some atheists declare themselves to be Nārāyaṇa, or the Supreme Lord, and thus they ruin the people of that country. Can't remember if we're reading about this today. Anyways, I'll just continue. In Nārāyaṇa, also, there was a great Brahmadaitya who externally dressed as a Brahmana, but who internally had the nature of a demon, and he declared himself to be Gopal. Due to his cowardliness, however, people called him a hated jackal. You hated jackal. There are no greater offenses than those sinful living entities who went to declare themselves or other living entities to be the Supreme Lord, instead of declaring Śrī Caitanya, the Lord of innumerable universes, as a Supreme Lord. Moreover, even today it is found that simply by remembering the servants of Chaitanya Chandra, a living entity attains all auspiciousness. Okay, so that's what we'll be reading about today, all up to that point. Tomorrow I'll read the synopsis for the rest. Okay, one second. I'm just looking at the comments. So, like I mentioned that point about, I wonder if that was a time when Mahaprabhu left his prem for Narottam Das Thakur. We know that famous pastime. But then Kishore said that he heard that Mahaprabhu was chanting Narottam, Narottam when he was leaving the prem there. Yes. So maybe that was, this is just total speculation, but maybe, unless there's another time that Mahaprabhu went to that place. Yeah. So maybe Mahaprabhu secretly, did that at that time. All right, let me just find the place. What verse is it? 50. Hare Krishna. Okay, another day, Mother Shachi smelt the fragrance of lotus flowers throughout the house. As Lakshmi Narayan secretly lived in Navadvip in this way, no one was able to recognize them. After a few days, the independent Lord desired to visit East Bengal, Bangladesh. Tabe koto dine icha moe Bhagavan, Bangladesha dekite hoilo icha tan. Okay, so now continuing from this point. Tabe Prabhu janani re bolilen vani kota dina prabhasa koribo mata ami. Lakshmi prati kohilen Śrī Gora Sundar Mayer Sevana tumi koro nirantar. The Lord told his mother, "Dear mother, I will go on a journey for a few days." Śrī Gora Sundar then said to Lakshmi, "You should constantly serve mother." Mayer Sevana tumi koro nirantar. Gaudiya Bhashya by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. While leaving for Bangladesh in eastern Goda, The Lord said to Mother Shachi, "O mother, I will leave this house and go somewhere else for a few days in order to collect items um, for the service of you and the household." And he said to his wife, Lakshmi Priya Devi, "In my absence, you should perform your duty of serving my mother." Before departing for another province, the Lord entrusted the responsibility of serving his mother with his wife, Lakshmi Priya Devi, and then proceeded toward the east to increase his mother's happiness. One second, I'm just gonna... I got this little tomato timer thing, then I can just keep track of the time. 58 minutes. See? Oh, Krishna. Can you hear the ticking? Is that annoying? I'll put it up high. Okay. Tabe Prabhu Kot. Well, let me see what Kishore says. Is that Chaturmas approved? We'll not talk about it. We'll just keep that a secret. Tabe Prabhu Koto Apta Shishya Varga Loya Chalilen Bhangadeshe Harashita Hoya. Then the Lord took some of his students and happily departed for East Bengal. Gaudiya Bhashya. The Lord did not travel alone from Goda to the eastern Goda. The Lord did not travel alone from Goda to the eastern Goda province of Bangladesh. Nimāi Pandit, the crest jewel of teachers, was accompanied to East Bengal by many of his favorite students who were residents of Godapur, Navadvip Mayapur. Je je jana dekhe Prabhu chaliya asite, she ar drishti nahi pare samvarite. Whoever saw the Lord in his travels could not take his eyes off of him. Gaudiya Bhashya. Some people who saw the most attractive form of the Lord in the course of his travels did not care to look anywhere else. The unparalleled beauty and qualities of the Lord bewildered all observers. Śrī loke dekhiya bole heno putra jar, dhanyatar janmatar paye namaskar. The women said, "Glorious is she who has such a son. We offer our obeisances to her." Gaudiya Bhashya. The aged mothers of East Bengal could not find appropriate words to praise the good fortune of Shachi Devi, the mother of Gaur. They would say, "By holding the Lord in her womb, Shachi Devi's life has become successful." Following in the footsteps of Shachi Devi, many ladies who worshipped the Lord in the mood of Vatsalya Ras were enthused to serve the Lord in that mood as they looked at him with parental feelings. Je ba bhagyavati heno pailen pati, Śrī janma sartak korilen she sati. Fortunate is she who has such a husband. The life of that chaste lady has become successful. Gaudiya Bhashya. The married ladies of East Bengal realized the good fortune and perfection of accepting a woman's birth attained by Lakshmi Devi, the wife of Gaur, and they engaged with her in the Lord's service in the mood of awe and reverence. They did not forget their own constitutional position as eternally separated expansions, and they didn't attempt to establish abominable mundane debauchery as worship of Gaur in order to become Gaur Bhogis, or enjoyers of Gaur like the fictitious Gaur Nagaris. E mata pate dekhe jato stri purushe, puna puna shabe vyakhya koren santoshe. In this way, all the ladies and men who saw the Lord as he passed by repeatedly all the ladies and men who saw the Lord as he passed by they repeatedly glorified him in full satisfaction. Gaudiya Bhashya. The words Vyakya Koren indicates that they offered prayers to the matchless form of the Lord. Deve o Koren Kamya Je Prabhu Dekhite Jete Jane Heno Prabhu Dekhe Kripa Hoite. That Lord, whom even the demigods desired to see, now mercifully appeared before the vision of everyone. Gaudiya Bhashya. Out of compassion, the Lord manifested his form, which is rarely seen by the demigods. He manifested that form to the people of Bangladesh, that form which is rarely seen by the demigods. By giving up duplicity born from the service of Maya, those who were fortunate enough to see the transcendental form of the Lord did not accrue any inauspiciousness, like followers of the path of prayas, temporary material gratification, who are attached to material conceptions. The causeless mercy of the Lord alone protected men and women who flourished with sensual knowledge, inspired by material perceptions from their enjoying spirit. The Lord protected them, even though they flourished with sensual knowledge. Henomate Gora Sundar. Henomate Gora Sundar Dhire Dhire. Koto Dine Ailen Parmavati Tire. In this way, Gaurasundar arrived in a few days at the bank of the Padmavati river. Did I say Padmavati? It should be Padmavati. Padmavati. Gaudiya Bhashya. Satisfied by the prayers of the saintly king Bhagirath, Janavi Devi appeared from Maya Tirtha, Haridwar, and she began flowing east to merge in the ocean. Some people say that a demon adorned with material knowledge diverted the flow of the Bhagirathi into the Padmavati in order to deprive Bhagirathi from achieving the lotus feet of Gaur. Feeling unhappy as a result, Bhagirathi flowed by the side of Śrī Navadvip Mayapur in order to serve the lotus feet of Gaur Nārāyaṇa. This Mayapur is itself the above-mentioned Maya Tirtha, Haridwar. Though personally full in 6 opulences, after his marriage pastime, Lord Gaurasundar crossed many villages and eventually arrived on the bank of the Padmavati in order to perform pastimes of accumulating wealth while imitating the activities of ordinary householders. Padmavati nadir taranga shobhaati uttama pulina jeno upavana tati. The current of the Padmavati river is most charming, and her fine banks are covered with forest groves. Deki Padmavati Prabhu Mahakutuhale Gana Saha Snana Korilen Tar Jale. Seeing the Padmavati, the Lord joyfully took bath with his students. Bhagavati Padmavati Shaydina Hoite Jogya Hoilo Sarva Loka Pavitra Korite. Since that day, the fortunate Padmavati river became fit to sanctify the entire world. Gaudiya Bhashya. When Gaurasundar took bath in the Padmavati, she at once became most fortunate and the deliverer of all. Though the emanation of the Ganga from the lotus feet of Vishnu indicates her quality of delivering people and destroying sin, the moment the Lord personally and directly immersed and bathed in the Padma, whose ability for delivering fallen souls was not as great as the Ganga, by the touch of the Lord's feet, she became equal to Ganga in her ability to purify people and destroy the sinful reactions of Kali. Padmavati nadi ati dekhite sundar, taranga pulina srota ati manohar. The Padmavati river appeared most beautiful being decorated with enchanting waves, banks, and flowing current. Padmavati dekhi Prabhu, Paramahari she sthane rohilen, tar bhagya vashe. The Lord was so pleased to see the Padmavati that he remains there a few days to increase her good fortune. Jeno krida korilen janavir jale shishyagan sahita paramakutuhale she bhagya ebe pailena Padmavati pratidina prabhu jal krida kore tathi. Just as the Lord had joyfully sported in the waters of the Ganga with his students, now the Padmavati achieved the same good fortune as the Lord. She attained the same good fortune as the Lord daily sported in her waters. Bangladeshe Gaura Chandra Korila Prabesh Adyapi ho she bhage dhanya Bangladesh Padmavati tire rohilen Gaura Chandra shuni sarva loka boro hoilo ananda. Because Sri Gaurachandra entered East Bengal, it is considered glorious even today. People were overjoyed to hear that Gaurachandra was staying on the banks of the Padmavati river. Gaudiya Bhashya. Both the tracts of land on the banks of the Ganga, known as Gauradesh or West Bengal, and the tracts of land on the banks of the Padmavati, known as East Bengal, were generally known as Bangladesh or Bengal. Generally, the other side of the Padmavati is known as Purvadesh or East Bengal. This book does not mention which village became glorious and holy by receiving the dust of the lotus feet from the Lord. Some people say it was the village of Magdoba in the district of Faridpur. Nimāi Pandita Adhyapaka Shiromani Ashiya Achen Sarvadike Hoilo Dwani. News spread in all directions. The crest jewel of teachers, the Adhyapak Shiromani, Nimāi Pandit, has arrived on the banks of the Padmavati. Bhagyavanta Jata Ache Shakala Brahman Upayana Haste Ailen Shekhan. The fortunate Brahmanas all came to welcome the Lord with various gifts. Gaudiya Bhashya. The phrase Upayan Haste indicates that they came with gifts and presents in their hands. Sabe Ashi Prabhure Koriya Namaskar Bolite Lagila Ati Kori Parihar. Coming before the Lord, they offered their obeisances and humbly spoke as follows. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word parihar means humble words, faltering words, submissive entreaties, or flattering words. Ama sabakar ati bhagyodai hoite tomara vijayasi hoilo e deshete. We consider ourselves most fortunate because of your arrival here. Arthavritti loy sarva goshtir sahite jar sthane navadvipe jaivo porite heno nidhi anayase apane ishvare aniya dilen ama sabar duare. That rare touchstone to whom we were to go with friends and money to study under Navadip, that we were to go with friends and money to study under in Navadip. that rare touchstone has now been brought to our doorstep by Providence. Wow, so people were traveling all the way from Bangladesh to Navadvip just to learn from Nimāi Pandit. So they're so happy that he came to their doorstep instead of them having to go to Navadvip. Gaudiya Bhashya. During the Lord's presence, many people from East Bengal accumulated wealth and went with their sons and dependents to study in Navadvip, the center of education at that time. Nimāi Pandit was famous as the crest jewel of teachers. The students desired to study under him alone. Yet for some reason or other, everyone was not able to go to Navadvip to study under him. Since today, due to the good fortune of the students, that same crest jewel of teachers, Nimāi Pandit, personally arrives on the bank of the Padmavati. They all praised their extraordinary good fortune and considered that now they did not need to go to Navadvip. Murti manta tumi brihaspati avatar, tomar sadrisha adhyapaka nahi ar. There is no other teacher like you, for you are like the incarnation of Brihaspati. Brihaspati drishtanta tomar jogyanai, Ishvarer angsha tumi heno mane loy. Rather, to compare you with Brihaspati is insufficient. We consider you a portion of the Supreme Lord. Anyata Ishvar bine e mata panditya, anyer nahoy kabhu loy chitta bitta. Otherwise, such knowledge is not possible in anyone other than the Supreme Lord. This is our firm conviction. Gaudiya Bhashya. Because the Lord attracted the heart of everyone by the opulence of his scholarship, they considered and concluded that the Lord's matchless proficiency in learning was divine. Ebe ek nivedan koriye tomare, vidya dan koro kichu ama sabakare. Now we have one request of you. Please give us all some knowledge. Vidya dan koro. Give some knowledge. Uddeshe amrat sabe tomar tipani, loy pori parai shunoho dvijamani. O best of the Brahmanas, please hear us. We study, teach, and accept only your explanations. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word uddeshe means indirectly aiming at your approval or pleasure. The scholars residing on the banks of the Padmavati studied and taught their students with the help of the commentary on Kalapa grammar that the Lord composed. From this it is understood that while studying under Nimāi Pandit, while studying under the crest jewel of teachers Nimāi Pandit, a few students from the banks of the Padmavati had collected his commentary, returned to their respective villages, and given that commentary to their teachers. In any case, we do not find the Lord's commentary in book form anywhere, unfortunately. So Kalapa grammar, that's not Panini grammar, but Jiva Goswami wrote, Jiva Goswami's Harinama Mritya Vyakaranam is mostly from Panini's grammar. But I'm just saying Kalapa grammar. It is famous as non-Paninian Sanskrit grammar. It's interesting, huh? So Mahaprabhu was teaching a grammar different from what Jiva Goswami taught, like what he made. Okay. Shakshate oshishya koro ama sabakare takuk tomar kirti shakala sangsare. Now, please accept us as your students, and let the entire world sing your glories. Oh, Hare Krishna, Shubhananda Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. And Subhadra Didi, I already saw Subhadra. Yeah, okay. Okay, so they said, "Oh, best of the Brahmins, please hear us. We study, teach, and accept only your explanations. Please teach us. Now please accept us as your students, and let the entire world sing your glories. Hasi Prabhu Sabha Prati Koriya Ashvas, Koto Dina Bangladeshe Korila Vilas." The Lord smiled and agreed to their request. Thus he enjoyed pastimes in East Bengal for some days. She bhage adyapi ho sarva Bangladeshe, Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata kore stri purushe. Due to this good fortune, the men and women of East Bengal engage in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement even today. Gaudiya Bhashya. At the time of writing Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata, the author knew very well that even many years after the Lord's disappearance, the Sankirtan movement inaugurated by Śrī Caitanya would continue. Without discrimination, both men and women joined in that movement. Madhye madhye matra koto papi gana giya, loka nashta kore apanare lawaiya. 1 second. Okay. Sometimes sinful persons try to mislead people by accepting their homage for themselves. Gaudiya Bhashya. The phrase loka nashta kore means ruining the people, or in other words, depriving them from their spiritual life and sending them to hell. The short form of the word lawaiya is lawa, from the Sanskrit verb la, which refers here to instigating or inducing others to glorify oneself by giving advice or encouragement. Joining the devotees in chanting the glories of Krishna, some sinful persons create disturbances in Śrī Caitanya's Sankirtan movement. When simple-minded people engage in kirtan along with these sinful persons who are attached to irrelevant fruits, they are unable to achieve the supreme goal. Since the non-envious pure devotees are not cheated by the 4 vargas, religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, they obtain the fruit of chanting Krishna's names. But persons attached to material enjoyment that enter devotee communities dressed as devotees either desire the fruits of the 3 vargas, or they poison the devotee community with a desire for liberation and thus influence them to accept not Krishna Prem, but material enjoyment and liberation as the real fruit of glorifying Krishna. Following the doctrines of the Bauls, Kartabhajas, and Ativadis, these sinful persons sometimes advertise themselves as the Supreme Lord or Vishnu, and thus misguide people. Sorry, 1 second. Hari Bol Sudevi Didi. Udhar bharana lagi papishta shakale, Raghunatha kori apanare keho bole. In order to fill their bellies, these sinners cheat people by claiming to be Lord Ram. Gaudiya Bhashya. The phrase Udar Bharan Lagi, a Hindi phrase, means for the sake of the stomach. No, it means for the sake of filling the stomach, right? Yeah. Bharana means to fill. In order to gratify their senses, sinful persons who are attached to material enjoyment imagine or declare themselves to be the worshipable Supreme Lord. And by utilizing others as fuel for the fire of their sense gratification, they completely spoil them. The pure worshippers of Sri Ramachandra serve him with devotion, considering him to be their worshipable Lord. Sinful persons in the guise of the Supreme Lord declare themselves to be Sri Ramachandra, and they accept appropriate service from their contrived servants in order to gratify their tongues, bellies, and genitals. 84. Gona papi gona chari Krishna Sankirtan Apanare Gawai Bolia Nārāyaṇa. Other sinful persons give up chanting the names of Krishna, and they claim to be Nārayaṇa. They then induce others to chant their glories. Gaudiya Bhashya. When sinful persons become extremely offensive by posing as gurus concocted by their own self-worship, they give up Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which is the source of all auspiciousness. They teach the society of fools who are ignorant of the absolute truth to secure profit, adoration, and distinction so that they can fulfill their own material desires. These sinful persons advertise themselves as Nārayaṇa, that is, the Supreme Lord, or an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And Mahaprabhu, along with his associates as well as Sri Mahamantra, who appears as Shabda Brahma in the form of syllables, who is the highest worshipable object of all animate and inanimate beings, and who is glorified by Mahaprabhu as being non-different from Lord Krishna. They consider that Shabda Brahma, Sri Mahamantra, and Sriman Mahaprabhu and his associates, they consider all that to be, they consider that all as ordinary mortal forms, desirous of material fame like themselves. Following this conception, they induce others to glorify their mundane names or sound vibrations related with their families, houses, and bodies, which are full of stool and worms, and which ultimately turn to ashes. Although Guru Tattva is actually a manifestation of Krishna, if one considers the spiritual master as a supreme worshipable object, Radhikanath, rather than considering him a manifestation of the supreme worshipper, or if one considers him simply an artificial singer of folk songs, which are contrary to the Mahamantra given by the spiritual master, and if one declares or induces others to glorify his material body to be the Supreme Lord in order to accumulate mundane fame, then such a cheating so-called guru and his cheated followers will both enter hell under the burden of great sins. 85. Dekhite chi dine tina avastha jahar kona laje apanare kawai shechar. How can an insignificant person who daily goes through three states, shamelessly induce others to chant his glories? Gaudiya Bhashya. The tin avastha are three states of a person. They are gross, subtle, and casual. Wakefulness, dream, and deep sleep, or past, present, and future. So it refers to those three things: gross, subtle, and causal. Sorry, did I say casual? I meant to say causal. Gross, subtle, and causal, wakefulness, dream, and deep sleep, are past, present, and future. These states are prone to be agitated by material nature and time. We cannot understand how an impersonalist self-worshipper establishes himself as a supreme worshipable object in the dress of a guru, because we can see that within a single day, a healthy living entity falls sick, and from sickness, he regains health, and after regaining health, he again falls sick. Or according to others, the living entities who are conditioned by the three modes of material nature and under control of nature, they become overwhelmed by the three different influences, states, or designations, like gross, subtle, or causal, or wakefulness, dream, and deep sleep. How can such extremely shameless living entities, who are controlled by Maya and subjected to these three states, declare themselves to be the supreme worshipable object and controller of Maya? For a living entity qualified for being forced to undergo the three different states in one day. Let me read that. For the living entity qualified for being forced to undergo three states in one day to claim to be the Supreme Lord. Yeah, they go through the three different states in one day, and they claim to be the Supreme Lord who controls Maya and who is transcendental due to the three modes of material nature. That person who says that is completely ludicrous. Simply ludicrous. Sorry, guys, I'm not reading very smoothly. 86. And remember, in Srila Bhaktivinoda Puri Goswami Maharaj's, Kathasar, he says that these are contemporaries of Vrindavan Das Thakur, this person that we're going to read about now. Rare ar ek maha brahma daitya ache, antare rakshasa vipra kacha matra kache. There is a powerful Brahma Daita in Radha Desh. Although he externally dresses like a Brahmana, internally he is a demon. Gaudiya Bhashya. The areas of the western bank of the Ganga are known as Rastra Desh or Radha Desh. There are many villages within the Radha Desh, but the names of those villages are not mentioned at this point. If a Brahman becomes a ghost after death, he becomes a Brahmadaita. A Brahmana who follows his prescribed duties generally advances to higher planets. But those who neglect their duties and who engage in sinful activities and thus meet an unnatural death, they become Brahmadaitas. So-called Brahmanas who are envious, offensive blasphemers of Vaishnavas, who though breathing are lifeless, and who are situated in sinful life, are known as Brahmadaitas. Real pure Brahmanas are totally partial and subordinate to Vaishnava principles. Since so-called Brahmanas who are envious of the Vaishnavas become ghosts in this very life, they are presently being addressed as Brahmadaitas. One such Brahmadaita from Radhadesh externally exhibited Brahminical behavior, yet internally maintaining envy towards the Vaishnavas. And as a result, he became an envious demon. When a Brahman engages in the demoniac activities of envying Vaishnavas, then he is called a Brahma Rakshasa. Although demons are experts in envying cows, demigods, and Vaishnavas, they become puffed up with false ego due to their birth in seminal Brahmana families. The performance of Brahminical activities and acceptance of external Brahminical dress by persons who internally maintain demoniac propensities in this way is simply artificial duplicity that ruins people. The performance of Brahminical activities and acceptance of external Brahminical dress by persons who internally maintain demoniac propensities in this way is simply artificial duplicity that ruins people. What is it? Just trying to think of the Nārāyaṇa Das Thakur song. Kapata Vaishnava Veshe. What is it? Brahmiya Bulai Gare Gare. Yeah. She papishta apanare bolai gopal, ataev tare shabe bolen shial. That sinful person advertised himself as Gopal, and people therefore called him a Shial, a jackal. He called himself a Gopal, and then they all called him a Shial, a jackal. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word Shial, or Shayal, from the Sanskrit word Shrigal, refers to those people of Bengal who are generally afraid, who are prone to run away, who are thieves, who are miscreants, or who speak harsh words. Although the sinful, hellish Mayavadi Brahman Rakshasa of Radhadesh introduced himself as Gopal to everyone, the devotees, rather than calling him Gopal, called him a false logician Mayavadi jackal. Those who cultivate material knowledge take birth as jackals in their next life. Okay. Interesting. So all the jackals that we see running around in Mayapur, they were all people who tried to cultivate material knowledge before. Within 100 years after the disappearance of Mahaprabhu, some foolish atheists rejected their gurus and advertised themselves as incarnations of the Supreme Lord. In this regard, the Gaur Gana Chandrika, which is said to be written by Srimad Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, states as follows. Seeing that others have accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Śrī Gauranga, as the Lord of the universe, some foolish people of Nārāyaṇa, Bengal, who were devoid of scriptural knowledge, wandered about dressed as the Supreme Lord, attempting to convince other fools about their supremacy. Among those impostors was a Brahmin named Vasudev, who out of madness declared, "I am Gopal, the son of Nanda Maharaj." That is why the people of Nārāyaṇa call this Brahman a Shrigal, or jackal, instead of Gopal. Another person named Vishnudas said, "I am Lord Ramachandra, the son of the Raghu dynasty. I have descended from Vaikuntha along with the monkeys. Hanuman is my devotee." Due to such offensive statements, he was rejected by the people of Nārāyaṇa and was addressed as the leader of the monkeys. In order to deliver the people of the earth, I, Lord Narayan, have appeared from the people of earth. Sorry. I have appeared from my abode of Vaikuntha. Let me reread that. I'm really sorry about that, guys. And so, in order to deliver the people of earth, I, Lord Narayan, have appeared from my abode of Vaikuntha. Boasting in this way and putting a crown on his head, an ill-motivated Brahmin of Bengal named Madhav advertised himself as the Supreme Lord in order to get some cheap adoration. Hence, the people of Bengal addressed Madhav as Chudadhari, or one who wears a crown. This Madhav was the very lusty priest of the Shudras. Therefore, he used to imitate the Ras dance pastimes of Sri Krishna. It is heard that this Brahman was rejected by Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata and the Vaishnavas. Therefore, one should not associate with such persons. If one does so, his religiosity will be destroyed, because it is stated in the scriptures, "A drop of oil spreads all over the water." If one touches, converses with, is touched by the breath of, or eats with such a sinful person, then the very sins of that person will be spread to him. In the Bhakti Ratnakar 14, verses 163 to 168, and also verses 180 to 183, it is stated, Someone said, "O brothers, the materialists who have turned their faces from Lord Krishna are very independent, and they transgress religious principles. The leader of the materialists has taken the position of Raghunath in order to cheat people in general. This misbehaved sinner has invented his own philosophy, and claiming to be the king of poets, he preaches in Bangladesh." Another person said, I saw some great sinners induce others to glorify them rather than glorify Lord Krishna. Another person said, there is a degraded Brahman known as Malika in Radhadesh. No one is as wicked as him. That great sinner calls himself Gopal. Speaking an ordinary philosophy worthy of the Rakshasas, he tricks people in general. In the Radhadesh, in the village named Kandara, is the auspicious and glorious home of Gyanadas. Oh yeah, there's kirtans written by Gyanadas. I'm familiar with. A Kayasta named Jai Gopal also lives in that place. That person, that Kayasta Jai Gopal, became evil-minded due to his pride of learning. He arrogantly declared that his guru had no knowledge, and whenever someone inquired from him, he claims that his Param Guru was his guru. Virachandra Prabhu tactfully disclosed his position and then rejected him. Okay, so he's Gyanadasa's disciple, Jayagopal. Gyanadas rejected him. No, Virachandra Prabhu tactfully disclosed his position and rejected him, the son of Nityananda Prabhu. I wonder who the guru of Gyanadas is. Is that Virachandra Prabhu? Maybe. In this regard, one should refer to the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, 10th canto, chapter 66, and the Vishnu Puran 534, wherein the Dwapara Yuga pastime of Krishna killing Pondraka Vasudeva, the king of Karusha, who worshipped himself and imitated Krishna, is described. One should also see the description of Shrigal Vasudeva, the king of Karavirapur, found in Harivangsha chapters 99 and 100, or 244 to 45. Wow, this is a long commentary. Regarding the acceptance of Ahangropasana, or self-worship, in the form of advertising oneself as a Supreme Lord Vishnu, or an incarnation, by the foolish atheists who are controlled by Maya, Srila Jiva Goswami has stated in his Bhakti Sandarbha 276. In these verses of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the idea that the individual spirit soul is the worshipable Supreme has been condemned with extreme hatred. An example is seen when Pondraka Vasudeva sent a servant to Krishna with the message, "I am Lord Vasudeva." When the pure devotee Yadavs, headed by Ugrasen, heard the crazy words about the artificial attempts of Pondraka Vasudeva from the mouth of the messenger, they laughed loudly. The reason for this is found in scriptural statements, such as the following verse from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 3:29-13, wherein the Lord explains, "A pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation, salokya, sarshti, samipya, sarupya, or sayujya, devoid of my service, even though they are offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Yes, that's a really nice. Salokya sarshti samipya sarupaikam ittuta diyamanam nagrinanti vinamat sevanam jana. It's a famous verse, Kapila speaking to Devahuti. The Mahabhagavat Sri Hanumanji also confirms this as follows. Only a fool will give up the service of the Lord and try instead to become the Lord himself. While glorifying the Nishkinchan devotees, the Supreme Lord has established that Nishkam Bhakti is the highest abhideya, or sadhan, in the following words from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, that's 11:20-34. Because my devotees possess saintly behavior and deep intelligence, they completely dedicate themselves to me and do not desire anything besides me. Instead, I even offer it to them, because liberation from birth and death. Sorry guys, I'm getting tired, I need to sit up. Indeed, even if I offer them liberation from birth and death, they do not accept it. Those who accept insignificant fallen souls who are controlled by Maya as the Supreme Lord, who controls Maya. Those who accept insignificant fallen souls who are controlled by Maya as the Supreme Lord, who controls Maya, those people are extremely fallen. There is no comparison to their lamentable fallen condition. Śrī Caitanya-chandra is the Lord of the 14 worlds, as well as Navadip, Vraja, Goloka, Vaikuntha, and Paravyoma beyond the 14 worlds, and he is none different from Vrajendra Nandan. And although the atheist sees that he is being glorified and offered prayers as Swayam Rup, Avatari, Shakshad Bhagavan, and Parameshwar, he nevertheless falsely tries by imitation to compete with him. Thus, there is no limit to his misfortune. It is stated in the Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata, verse 32. Condemned are the followers of Vedic ritual. Condemned are the practitioners of severe austerity. Condemned are the dull-witted fools whose mouths have blossomed with the words "I am Brahman." Why do we lament for these animals in the guise of men, intoxicated by the taste of things other than Krishna? Alas, they have not tasted even a drop of the nectar of Lord Gaur. The following purport also applies to this verse. Śrī Caitanya bine anyere Ishwar, je adhama bole she char shochatar. Anyone who accepts someone other than Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata as the Supreme Lord is fallen, insignificant, and fit for living in hell. Gaudiya Bhashya. Presently, a few persons from the Mayavad Sampradaya have promoted an insignificant, ordinary human being who is controlled by Maya and who is a servant of the senses as an incarnation of Krishna, an incarnation of Ram, an incarnation of Gaur, an incarnation of Gopal, an incarnation of Kalki, a joint incarnation of Nitai Gaur, a Jagadguru, a Vishwaguru, a Yug Avatar, and as Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu. They have thus welcomed offenses, and as a result, the followers of such illogical so-called incarnations who are opposed to the descending process of knowledge or the incarnation of Lord Vishnu, rather than attaining the position of the Supreme Lord in their next life, they will take birth as jackals. Those who cultivate material knowledge take birth as jackals in their next lives. One should also refer to the Mahabharat Shanti Parva Moksha Dharma 180 verses 48 to 50. Dui bahu tuli e boli satya kori ananta brahmandanat gauranga Shri Hari jar nama smarane samasta bandha khoy jar dasa smarane O sarvatra vijay. I therefore raise my two arms and boldly declare, Shri Gauranga is the Lord of innumerable universes. One is free from all bondage simply by remembering him. Indeed, even by remembering his servants, one is always victorious. Gaudiya Bhashya. Realizing that Sri Krishna Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotees loudly broadcast his glories. Broadcast his glories. The author, who is attached to the truth, loudly glorifies Sri Gaur Sundar as the Lord of innumerable universes. It is directly seen, realized, and applicable to all places, times. It is directly seen, realized, and applicable to all places, times, and persons, that by offenselessly remembering the holy names of Śrī Caitanya, all material desires of the conditioned souls are diminished. In other words, the conditioned souls attain freedom from the conceptions of being entangled in other desires like material enjoyment and mental speculation. Moreover, if the pure transcendental spiritual characteristics of even Śrī Caitanya's servants appears in the minds of a conditioned soul, then he is liberated from his conditional state, and he can deliver the entire world. As stated in the Chaitanya Chandramrita, verse 6, when Lord Gaurachandra's devotees, who are worshipped even by the demigods, when they drink the wonderfully sweet nectar of the bliss of pure love of God that flows from the lotus flower of Lord Gaurachandra's feet, they become completely intoxicated. In that condition, they laugh at Lord Brahma and the other demigods, condemn the impersonalist sannyasis, and they do not consider the great devotees of Lord Vishnu who do not worship Lord Gaurachandra to be very important. Let us glorify that Lord Gaurachandra. That's from Chaitanya Chandramrita by Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, right? Chaitanya Chandramrita? I think so. Verse 91. What verse are we reading up to? 92. Okay, so two more verses. Shakala bhuvane dekho jar jasha gai vipata chariya bhajo, heno prabhur pai. Giving up all evil ways, worship the feet of such a Lord whose glories are chanted throughout the entire world. Gaudiya Bhashya. One should discuss the following two verses from Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata, verse 90 and 85 in this regard. Dear gentlemen, you should renounce all your mentally concocted honesty and religious principles that are averse to the devotional service of Gaur Krishna, and you should become attached to the lotus feet of Śrī Caitanya. Give up all your useless absorption in fruitive activities. Don't allow a single word concerning self-worship enter your ears. Do not be illusioned by your temporary material body, house and country and relatives. Then only will you attain the crest jewel of all human goals. Okay, so we're ending with this verse here. He namate Śrī Vaikunṭha Nātha Gaura Chandra Vidyara se kore Prabhu Bangadeshe Ranga. In this way, Śrī Gaurachandra, the Lord of Vaikunṭha, happily enjoyed his scholastic pastimes in East Bengal. Let me just see. You had thousands of students there, hundreds of students received. Oh, maybe let's read up to 98. Because then we'll have more time to read. We'll have more time to read about Sita Thakurani tomorrow. Mahavidya Goshti Prabhu Korilen Bange Parmavati Deki Prabhu Bulilen Range. The Lord attracted a large number of students in East Bengal, and he would often wander on the banks of the Padmavati river. Sahasra Sahasra Shishya Hoilo Tatai Eno Nahi Jani Ke Paroye Kona Thai Shuni Sha Bangladeshi Aise Dhaiya Nimāi Pandita Sthane Poribaya Giya Heno Kripa Drishte Prabhu Koren Vyakyan Dui Mase Shabe Hoilo Vidyavan. He had thousands and thousands of students there, so it is difficult to know who studied with whom. People from all over East Bengal came rushing to study under Nimāi Pandit. The Lord taught them in such a merciful way that within 2 months, everyone became learned. Gaudiya Bhashya. Nimāi Pandit resided on the banks of the Padmavati River in East Bengal for 2 months, and he trained innumerable students to become expert scholars. Koto shoto shoto jan paravila bhiya ghare jai ar koto aise shuniya. Hundreds of students received titles and they returned home, and hearing about this, many new students joined. Gaudiya Bhashya. During the time of the Lord, the teachers awarded titles to their own students. By these titles, scholars were recognized as authorities on a particular scripture. In other words, a person was identified as possessing knowledge of a particular scripture according to the title he received after completing his studies. Okay, we'll end with this verse here. E mote vidyarase vaikunṭera pati vidyarase bangadeshe korilen sthiti. In this way, the Lord of Vaikunṭha enjoyed scholastic pastimes while staying in East Bengal. And then we're going to read tomorrow. Meanwhile, in Navadvip, Lakshmi was in great distress due to separation from the Lord. She did not reveal this to anyone. So we'll read about Lakshmi Priya's disappearance pastime tomorrow. And also we'll read about the appearance day of Śrī Sita Thakurani, the wife of Advaita Acharya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari. Oh, Kishore, would you like to do the Jai Dwani? I always do it every day, but maybe it'd be nice if you do it.
Oh, sure, I can do Jaidani.
Cool.
Jai Suprakash Shri Guru Gauranga Ganharvika Giridhari Radha Vinar Vihari Radhanainath Shri Mahaprabhu Radha Govind Ji Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Paramahams Prevra Jagchari Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Vigan Bharati Goswami Guru Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Paramahams Prevra Jagchari Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Vedanta Shila Nārāyaṇa Goswami Maharaj Parit Pavan Shila Gurudev Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Balab Tirtha Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Vedanta Bhaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Vedanta Vikram Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Kamal Govind Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Swarup Damodar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Gauru Govind Swami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Jivan Janardhan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Rakshak Shridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Vedanta Swami Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Daita Madhav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishtam Vishnu Par Stotrashta Shishyaman Jagar Guru Shivar Shabana Vidaita Das Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Swaprakash Shila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai.
Nityalela Pravishta Om Vishnu Par Mahaparam Bhagavat Pravar Paramahams Shishimar Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishta Om Vishnu Par Saptam Goswami Shila Sachid Ananda Bhakti Manohar Thakur Mahashai Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityalela Pravishta Om Vishnu Par Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Ma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
गौरी विदान आचार्य शल भले विद्या भूषण प्रभु की जाय.
Jai.
महामहोपरियाय शिरोमणि शल विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर पाद की जाय.
Jai.
चल रसिकानंद मुरारी प्रभु की जाय.
Jai.
चल रामचंद्र कविराज की जाय.
Jai.
चलो चंदास ठाकुर की जाय.
Jai.
चल नरोत्तम दास ठाकुर महाशय श्रीनिवास आचार्य श्यामानंद पंडित प्रभुतराय की जाय.
Jai.
चल कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी पाद की जाय.
Jai.
चल वृंदावन दास ठाकुर महाशय की जाय.
Jai.
श्री अष्टकविराज की जाय.
Jai.
श्री वसुर जानव की जाय.
Jai.
श्री नित्यानंद द्वरश गोपाल की जाय.
Jai.
श्री चौषति महंत की जाय.
Jai.
जय श्री रूप श्री सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टरा सुरगुनाथ सरगोस्वामी प्रभु की जय।
Jai.
श्री स्वरूप दामोदर रॉय रमानंद लोकनाथ गर्भ अधिगौर परिषद वृंद की जय।
Jai.
नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की जय।
Jai.
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय।
Jai.
श्री ईश्वरपुरी पाद की जय।
Jai.
श्री माधवेंद्रपुरी पाद की जय।
Jai.
श्री अंडरद्वीप मायपुर सिमनद्वीप गौद्रुमद्वीप मध्यद्वीप कलुद्वीप ऋतुद्वीप जानुद्वीप माधुर रुद्रमाद्वीप रुद्रद्वीप मात्मका श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय।
Jai.
श्री एक चक्र धाम की जय।
Jai.
श्री शांतिपुर धाम की जय।
Jai.
श्री गौरचंद्र भगवान की जय।
Jai.
श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ गोपी गोपी गौ गिरि गोवर्धन वनात्माक श्री ब्रज मंडल धाम की जय।
Jai.
श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गंग सखी आमन सखी तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जय।
Jai.
वृषभानुनंदिनी श्रीमती राधा रानी ठाकुरानी की जय।
Jai.
श्री ललिता विशाख चित्र चंपकलत तुंग विद्या इंदुले करंग देवी सुदेवी अरिसखी वृंद की जय।
Jai.
श्री अनंग प्रेम मंजुलाले श्री रूप लवंग राग विलास गुणरति कस्तूरी अरिमंजारी वृंद की जय।
Jai.
श्री कमल मंजरी देवी की जय।
Jai.
श्री नयमणि मंजरी देवी की जय।
Jai.
श्रीमती वृंद देवी की जय।
Jai.
श्री भगवती पूर्णमास योगमाय देवी की जय।
Jai.
श्री गोपीश्वर श्री शिव महादेव की जय।
Jai.
जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र नीलमाधव जू की जय।
Jai.
श्री जगन्नाथपुरी पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र मंडल नीलाचल धाम की जय।
Jai.
सर्व विघ्नामिनश्वन करे भक्त विघ्ना विनाश श्री इंद्र सिंह देव की जय।
Jai.
भक्तराज भक्त प्रवर श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय।
Jai.
श्री प्रहलाद लक्ष्मेंद्र सिंह देव की जय।
Jai.
श्री चरिराम चरि संप्रदाय चरि आचार्य की जय।
Jai.
श्री मध्वार मनोजा विष्णु स्वामी निम्बिदित्य चरि आचार्य की जय।
Jai.
अगर मद्रा श्री चैतन्य मात की जय।
Jai.
श्री गौरी मात वृंद की जय।
Jai.
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवताम भगवद गीता चैतन्य चरितामृत चैतन्य भागवत श्री जैव धर्म आदि सर्व गौरी वैष्णव ग्रंथ वृंद की जय।
Jai.
श्री भुवन मंगल श्री हरिनाम प्रभु की जय।
Jai.
श्री भुवन मंगल श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन युग धर्म की जय।
Jai.
श्री भुवन मंगल धन्य कलयुग तर्क ब्रह्म श्री हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे महामंत्र की जय।
Jai.
श्री आनंद पुरी वैष्णव वृंद की जय।
Jai.
श्री समगत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय।
Jai.
श्री गौर नारायण लक्ष्मी प्रिया विष्णु प्रिया की जय।
Jai.
श्री सची मात की जय।
Jai.
श्री जगन्नाथ मिश्र प्रभु की जय।
Jai.
श्री गंगा देवी की जय।
Jai.
श्री पद्मावती देवी की जय।
Jai.
श्री नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय।
Jai.
श्री वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय।
Jai.
श्री चैतन्य भागवत की जय।
Jai.
श्री प्रभुपाद गौरी अवश्य की जय।
Jai.
श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि
Hari Hari
बोल।
Bo. Jai.
I'm sorry, was that too long?
No, that was great. That was a wonderful Jadwani. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyai Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. That was a great Jadwani, very thorough. I haven't been there myself, but I heard that Madhav Prabhu does like very long Jayadvanis. He'll go through like every place in Braj Mandal, every place in Goda Mandal, all different books he'll start doing Jayad for like, yeah, he does like 15-minute Jayadvanis or something like that.
Oh, I need to hear that. Shabbat Badain Maharaj also does a really long Jaidwani.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, he goes into all the different disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. Can I
Actually, I
say one?
remember hearing. Yeah.
I'll just mention something quickly. So you said that had what Jiva Goswami and Mahaprabhu taught grammar-wise was different.
Yes.
I don't think so, because my Guru Maharaj has said that what Mahaprabhu, after becoming Bhavuka Nimāi, what Mahaprabhu taught, he was saying that each letter it's leading to Krishna. And then he started teaching Harnam Vyakaran. That's what Jiva Goswami taught. What Jiva Goswami is taught in his grammar is what Mahaprabhu taught at that time when he became Bhavuka Nimāi.
I think maybe I like maybe like the same style of teaching. Like Mahaprabhu taught grammar according to Krishna's names, and Jiva Goswami also taught grammar according to Krishna's names. But I've I've heard this um, from actually from Radhika, who had a whole discussion about it. You know Radhika, the pundit. She's getting a PhD in Sanskrit.
Mm,
Like her
no,
thesis is on Harinamamrita Vyakaranam.
I
And
don't
so
know her.
okay, Harinamamrita Vyakaranam is like maybe like 70 something percent or 80%, maybe even more, coming from Panini's grammar. Like it's the same system. And the grammar that was taught in Navadvip at the time of Mahaprabhu was this Kalapa grammar, which is, and we just read that in the Gaudiya Bhashya commentary, Kalapa grammar. And there's another name for it, forgot what it is. But yeah, that was the grammar that was prevalent at that time in Navadvip. And so maybe it is the same thing like Mahaprabhu taught, Jiva Goswami taught the same system of teaching through the Lord's names. But when it comes to like the actual grammar, um, yeah, from that what is it called? There's another name for it. It's not just Kalapa, there's another name. But yeah.
I see. I was just repeating my Guru Maharaj's words.
But what your Guru Maharaj said, like he was saying that he taught like Harinam, right? He taught grammar through
Yeah,
Harinam, right?
when he became
So
Bhavuka Nimāi.
yes, and so that is the same thing. It's teaching
Mm,
grammar through Harinam. I don't think I'm contradicting what Srila Bharati Maharaj said.
no, I don't think you are.
Yeah, it's this the same. He taught grammar through the names of God, but I'm just talking about the actual like not the way he taught and the type of, but I'm just talking about the actual grammar. Yeah.
What were you gonna say? You were gonna say something else. Or,
Oh, I can't remember. You
oh,
probably will.
okay.
Yeah. All right. So I studied for 3 months. I studied Harinamamrita Vyakaranam under Param Sundar Prabhu, and but it's so difficult because like the way you learn it is you have to memorize hundreds and hundreds, more than 100, like thousands of sutras, and each sutra has a different grammatical rule. And even the memorization part isn't the difficult part. It's not the most difficult part. The most difficult part is the application of the different sutras, because there'll be like one sutra that cancels out another sutra, and then this sutra which is like that, and knowing which is sutra, it's like full-on mathematics. It's terrible at that. But it's also really, it's like Panini grammar is really like the cool thing about Panini's grammar is that it's really concise. Like there'll be all this stuff contained in just like this super short sutra, um, but it's really boring. Like it's just all these equal like this that the sounds don't have any. But with Jiva Goswami's grammar, it's like he'll explain something about grammar, but then it will also and it will have Krishna's names throughout all of it. But it will also, lots of times it will explain a different philosophical point. And, there are like many double meanings and more than double meanings. And it's really cool. But now I realize I'm not going to go through the traditional route because it's just too difficult. So right now I'm studying with my friend Chandrasekhar and Navadip. We do Sanskrit twice a week, and we're just going through doing more like the different. We're not the traditional approach. We're just learning like a more easy way, and then later on we want to go through Harinama Mritu Vyakaranam once we have like a good foundation, because the traditional method's really full on. And that's what actually Pradyumna Prabhu suggested I do that as well. But yeah. All right. Sorry, I went on that whole thing. I don't know why I said that. Okay, so tomorrow is the appearance day of Sita Thakurani Advaita Acharya's Shakti. And then comes Lalita Devi, that's 4 days from now, and then 5 days from now, Śrī Radhashtami, and then in 8 days from now, starting 16th September, there are going to be 4 full-on days, like really special days. There is Vaman Dwadashi and the appearance day of Jiva Goswami on the same day. Then the day after that is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance day. The day after that is the disappearance day of Srila Haridas Thakur and of Kishor's Guru Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj. And then the day after that is Vishwarup's Sannyas Day, and the day that Param Gurudev and Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada took sannyas. So, yeah, lots of festivals coming up. What should we do for Radhashtami, I wonder? Maybe we like, after Radhashtami, we can maybe do like a 3-day thing for Radhashtami. Like, yeah, we can read 3 days. So there'll be the day of Radhashtami, the day after Radhashtami, the day after that will all be the glories of Srimati Radhika. And then after that will be Vaman Dwadashi, Jiva Goswami, like all those 4 days. And so then it will be like a full week, or no, 8 days of just glorification of personalities. So there'll be like an 8-day gap in our readings, like of Caitanya-bhāgavata. How does that sound?
Sounds
okay,
nice.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that's going to be the plan. All right, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow. Dandavat pranams, Subhadra Didi, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Kishore Prabhu, Champak Didi. Who else is there? Indira Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji, Ganga Mataji, Pradyumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Amit Dandekar, Sudevi Didi, Shasharma Ji, and Shubhananda Prabhu left, I think. Great. Okay, so yeah. So pranams to all of you, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Oh, Shubhananda Prabhu is still there. Okay. Hare Krishna, Shubhananda Prabhu. Hari Bol. Okay. Hare Krishna.